again, so I thought I would just do a little bit of a painting update. There's obviously still a big mess on the desk. Lead Mountain is quite significant still, but you know, that's okay. It gives me plenty to do for the next probably several months. But I did finish. These are the Billman I got from Curacao. These are from their, I think, War of the Roses range. I got them because I wanted some basically like foot knights or men-at-arms for my Belgrade campaign. And this was like the closest I could find. So I went with getting these guys, and they painted up pretty easily, chainmail and plate. So kind of made me think, well, I see why people like to do medieval armies, because they are really fast to paint. So I just did various colors on these guys, and I think they turned out okay. Tried to keep the wash on them not too overpowering. I did like a dark wash in some of them, but I ended up trying to use Earthshade and just sort of diluting it a lot just to give a little bit of kind of definition to the figures without making them look like muddy, which I have done on other 15mm figures in the past. So need to fix this. And then the other thing I got to supplement my European forces for Belgrade were these. These are Balkan Vojnuks from Curaçao's Ottoman range, but I'm going to use them as maybe like Serbian or, you know, southern kind of Hungarian defenders. Well, I mean, there were Serbs in the Kingdom of Hungary, but anyway. Yeah, just as another option for foot knights. I think they're more 15th century, but I mean, the armor, to me at least, looks like it can be used for early 16th century. The only issue with these guys is getting their shields glued on was really tricky. I need to get some gel glue because the two bottles I have are not dried out basically. So I need to go get more, because I usually use this Gorilla gel glue and that works pretty well, but they've been sitting there for a while, so they dried up. But I think these turned out fine. Again, they paint pretty quickly because it's mostly chainmail and some plate like on the arms. And then I decided to base them like 4 to a base, just so if I want to break them off into like have one base represent one unit, I can do that, because you know the table I have for doing like skirmishes, you know, I might be better for filming future games where just one base represents one unit. And I was rereading Armati, and they have rules in there where you can have that. I do have to finish these Essex. This is from the stuff that friend of the channel Jeffrey sent me. He said they were from a Lithuanian army pack that he got a while ago. I mean, I'm going to use them for as kind of just generic late medieval to early modern, you know, horse archers. But I also need gel glue for this because getting it onto the base. This is gonna be a command stand, and then I did finish 2 more, base them 2 for light cavalry, 2 to a stand. I think they turned out okay. Yeah, probably gonna throw these in with my Timurid army as just have extras, and then I'm gonna make this guy like a Timurid, you know, sub-general basically. You know, just have another commander or something if I need that. I've got a couple more of these guys to do. And then I think once I paint these 2, that'll give me 3 bases of the ones I just showed. And I also have this guy, and and I think I may just put him on the this command base as like his, I don't know, maybe lieutenant or something like that. Haven't decided yet, because I also have these light cavalry guys with spears that are kind of a mix. And I've got, anyway, I'm not going to show everything right now, but I've got like kind of a grab bag of this other light cavalry stuff from that package that I was sent. So I think I'll just kind of mix and match like these guys. Probably, like I said, just going to put these into my Timurid army because, you know, they work as just, you know, kind of generic light cavalry for that project. I'm still working on that. You know, the Belgrade stuff is not really a full-blown army, at least for the Hungarians, because I can kind of mix and match with what I already have. Now, I did put an order into 19th Century Miniatures, which sells Old Glory 15s, about on the 21st of August, I think. So at the time of making this video, that was several weeks ago. I did in no response or no acknowledgement, and then I did email them recently, I think it was last week, and they said it's on the casting schedule, so I'm still waiting for that. Because I did order more Tatars, and they also had some 16th century foot knights, and I ordered like one or two more things, but it's a little frustrating. I was hoping to get those by now, because I wanted to put on my Belgrade game for people in my area, but I haven't been able to get the rest of the figures I needed to kind of flesh out the armies. Hopefully they'll come soon. That's what I've been working on. Now I will do another battle in the Belgrade series, because we did complete Szabadka, the siege, which, contrary to the historical result, was ended in an Ottoman withdrawal. Now, you know, you could say that maybe that was like unrealistic, and maybe it is, based on what I know about the kind of garrison that the Hungarians had there. But I'm also trying to strike a balance between gaming and making sure the videos are a manageable length. So, you know, and in doing a siege, there's not going to be inevitably a kind of level of abstraction. But because the Ottomans withdraw, my plan for the next Szabadka game is or the next Belgrade campaign game is to do a field battle to represent, you know, the garrison at Szabadka is trying to move on to Belgrade, and the Ottoman Vizier Ahmed Pasha detaches some forces to basically block them. And so we'll see what happens with that. I think I'm going to play Armati with that, because I haven't really tried Armati in depth on the channel yet, or really at all. So I think that would be fun to give those rules a try. And depending on how it goes, I may, you know, end up using Armati to actually play the siege, because reading through the rules, they're fairly comprehensive, but the actual game mechanics are, you know, not that difficult to figure out. So the only thing with Armati is the measurements are a little wonky if you do 15 millimeter, because the rule book says, oh, you need to reduce the measurements by like 2/3, or the measurements will be 2/3 or 66%, not like 50% kind of rough halving like most people I think do today when you modify rules from going from 28 to 15 millimeter. But I mean, I can figure that out. I guess the other thing I have been reading a lot, of course. I thought I would share just what I've got on my reading stack. Okay, so first up is some stuff I got at Half Price Books recently. This is God's War, A New History of the Crusades. This is pretty hefty, and this is by a fairly well-known, as far as I know, scholar of the Crusades named Christopher Tyerman, lecturer of medieval history at Hartford College and New College, University of Oxford, and looks pretty, good. I kind of saw it. I didn't pick it up at first, and because the title seemed kind of flashy, and then also I saw some of the reviews from like newspapers and not like popular publications, I guess, but I think this is pretty good, actually, of a book. So, and I actually don't really have that many books on the Crusades, surprisingly. I've got just stuff I've picked up here and there. My favorite book on the Crusades, actually, now that I think about it, that I have in my library, or related to the Crusades, is this book on Saladin by Anne-Marie Ede. It doesn't try to romanticize him, but it doesn't, it's not like attacking him either. I haven't read this in a few years, but I did enjoy it when I read it. And I don't know if she's still alive, but maybe she is, but she doesn't know like the Arabic sources from the crusading era, so that's why I appreciated that. It was pretty good. Saladin's one of those people that we've kind of come back on, but kind of romanticized for sort of all kinds of weird reasons. Anyway, the other thing I found at Half Price Books was this nice copy of René Grousset's Empire of the Steppes, History of Central Asia. Nice. This is seems like it's almost untouched for a paperback. While the early history of the steppe nomad is shrouded in obscurity, the Empire of the Steppes brings the general reader and the specialist to the majestic sweep, grandeur, and overriding intellectual grasp of Grousset's original. Hailed as a masterpiece when first published in French in 1939 and English in 1970, this great works of synthesis brings before us the great people of the steppes, dominated by three mighty figures: Attila, Genghis Khan, and Tamburlaine. Anyway, but kind of a funny spelling, but that's okay. I actually have. I think Grousset was better known as a Crusades historian, because I have his book, The Epic of the Crusades, which I think is also by him. Anyway, this is like a classic. A lot of the information has sort of been subsumed by later research, and I've gotten this from the library over the years, and some of it is a little rough going, in terms of just like not always being the most lively writing, but still a classic. And also, like, if you wanted to find just a introductory book on Central Asia, there's a lot of, this has been out over 50 years in English, so there's a lot of copies out there. So and I kind of figured I needed a copy for my own Central Asia stuff in my library. And then this one I've had for a few months now, but this is by Peter Jackson, the historian of mostly the Mongols, but not to be confused, of course, with the movie director. This is From Genghis Khan to Tamerlane, The Reawakening of Mongol Asia. So I've been enjoying this. Some of the Goodreads reviews on this book are kind of funny because they complain about he devotes a chapter to the sources and stuff, and like the first chapter is just about the sources, and he like goes in great detail, which I love this stuff, because it's, for me, it's more things to try to read and study, but like it talks about Volume 1, entitled Tarihi Mubarak Ghazani, the Blessed Ghazanid History, completed in 703/1303. That's the Islamic year, 703. Deals with the histories of the Turkish and Mongol tribes and of Chinggisid history. For the Mongols' early history, Rashid al-Din made use of not only Giovanni's work, but also indirectly of Mongolian material. So that's just to give you an idea. Like, this is something I saw people complain about on, or one person complain about on Goodreads. But, I think this stuff is important, even in a book like this, which is meant to be more kind of, accessible to the public, because, you have to, I think you need to show people, like, we're dealing with like a small corpus of sources, especially like this transition period from the Mongols to Tamerlane. So how do we know this stuff, right? And kind of discussing the limitations of those sources. But I like this because I do enjoy Beatrice Mons's book on Timur, the Rise and Rule of Tamerlane. But this is a little more kind of broader of a story that Jackson gives in that, it's kind of Timur in context. I still haven't finished it yet, but it's definitely one I think I'm going to come back to. And I do want to so Jackson wrote a book earlier, like prior to this, that's The Mongols in the Islamic World. I think it's also published by Yale University Press, which I got from the library, but I think I want to get a copy, because if you read his Mongols in the Islamic World and then you read this, it's kind of like a sequel, rough sequel, like this a lot. I don't know, this wasn't a super expensive book. It doesn't have a MSRP on the dust jacket, does it? No, it doesn't, but yeah. I bought this, off Amazon, and it was not terribly expensive. So, but I don't remember actually. I may have splurged a little because I like Jackson's work. Then I've got other stuff from the library. I've had this on my stack for a while. Iran in the early Islamic period. This is like a pretty classic study. It was only in German for a long time. This is a Braille book, so had to get this one from the library, but by Bertold Spuler, and edited by Robert Hoyland. So Hoyland's like a really big name now in like early Islamic history. So if he thought it was good enough to bring back, it was probably, the best. It was probably, it's worth reading. It is a little rough because Spuler was like working on this literally at the end of the Second World War, and there's a funny footnote in the beginning or forward that, if I can find it quickly, basically he talks about how it's like at the end of World War II he started working on this. The Library of the Deutsche Morgenlandische Gesellschaft in Halle Saal helped me even during the last months of the war with those books that had not been moved into safe storage. So, I mean, this guy was like kind of a hardcore scholar. Once Germany's libraries had started functioning again, it was mainly the excellent university library in Göttingen which always supported my work in the most obliging fashion. This is one of the greatest collections in West Germany, the stock of which had survived nearly complete, even though its continuing excellence was now threatened due to lack of money. Kind of interesting. When was this published originally? Yeah, it was originally published in 1952, but Spuller, was working on it during the end of the Second World War, which is pretty remarkable. So, interesting book. It's a little, the writing style in this one is also can be a little dense, but probably that's a product of it being translated from German to English, but interesting book, kind of Iran between two major periods of the Arab conquests and then ending with the Seljuk conquests in the 11th century. So, and then this is not one I'm reading actively, but this is something that on a stream, David from Zen and the Art of Miniature Painting mentioned the Akkuyunlu, which is a subject I actually find interesting. This is a Turkoman tribal confederation that came after the Timurids, but before the Safavids. So this is in the 15th century, and the Safavid dynasty is kind of descended from the the Akkuyunlu, which means the white sheep, and one of their rivals were the black sheep. Why is one the white and one is the black? We don't really know, but that's just what they were called. This is kind of a classic study. You can find this on the author's academia.edu page. I think he uploaded the whole book. But interesting. He talks about the, kind of clan confederation empire. So it's like the three stages of the Akkuyunlu as they kind of transform into, at the end, into a kind of an empire almost. But very interesting period of history where you have sort of the collapse of the Timurids. You have a lot of regimes in the, Middle East kind of falling apart for various reasons, and then you have the emergence of sort of a new order at the end of the 15th century with the Ottomans and, the other powers around them. So, interesting book. I'll probably have to reread this because this is one of those studies that for someone like me, you kind of go back to a lot. And the author John Woods is also going to release another book on the Timurids soon. I don't know if it'll be a collection of articles or it'll be a complete book. But that's going to be published by Brill, so probably going to have to get the library to buy that one. But anyway, yeah, that's an interesting one. And then the last thing that I have on my stack, I haven't really looked at this, but this is one I check out from library periodically. This is Gustav Racket's Eastern Turkey Grammar. So this is the language. Basically this is the ancestor to Uyghur and Uzbek. But I'm interested in it because it's a good grammar for kind of the Chagatai literary language that was used in Central Asia in the 16th century. It's a bit different than Ottoman Turkish, well, quite a bit different actually. But this is a nice grammar book if you're interested in that sort of thing. It's something I may try to work on again if I have time. It's a little, don't always have time to do it, but it's got nice examples in it. It's got nice vocabulary. Got Botaz Yalapyan Sazhaning Ordosaga Yar Barde. Not sure what that means, but my pronunciation's rusty. But anyway, that's one of the example passages to work on. So I did try to buy this book. It's published by this German press, Lincom. and they do a lot of like kind of obscure language titles, and it was a little too rich for my blood for like a little paperback like this. But maybe if my fortunes change at some point, I will reconsider purchasing that. So anyway, I've got a lot of other books around here, but you know, I thought maybe that's probably enough for today, and enough hobby stuff for this video's already been kind of long. So all right, hope you found this interesting, and I'll talk to you on the next video. Bye.